We shall now focus on the question of fast and abstinence. As we were saying before, penance is the second work or the second component of the Lenten exercise. We're all obliged as Catholics to offer sacrifice, to offer mortification, and the most common way of doing this is what is known as fasting and abstaining. Now, what is the law of the Church as regards fast and abstinence? First of all, perhaps we should define what we mean by fast and what we mean by abstinence. To fast technically is defined as reducing oneself or limiting oneself to one full meal and 2 light repasts. That's the technical definition. One full meal can be as full as you want, and 2 very light repasts. Or one can say 2 half meals. And then to abstain means to abstain from meat, which means 4-legged animals, chickens, and fowl, and that kind of thing. And to limit oneself to vegetable and fish, or dairy products and egg products also are acceptable. Now, in principle, the Church has declared that all Fridays of the year are days of fast and abstinence. More specifically of abstinence. However, they can be, or rather, fast and abstinence can be substituted by a corporal work of mercy, a good deed, or some pious act or prayers. Now, what's important to realize is that the duty for fast and abstinence for all the Fridays of the year is a serious duty. And unless there's a serious reason to skip fast and abstinence, or unless it is duly substituted by a good work or some form of acts of piety, a pious act, then one could be failing in a serious obligation. Now, whether or not that can be qualified as a mortal sin, I won't like to get into, but yes, it's a serious, shall we say, omission of what is considered a serious obligation to fast and abstain. Now, even if in the whole year, in principle, we can substitute fasting and abstaining, there are 2 days of the year when in principle we should not, and that is Ash Wednesday and Good Friday, precisely because those are days not only of abstinence, but of fast. Now, what is to fast? As we said, to limit oneself to 1 full meal and 2 half repasts. Next question is, who are obliged to do this? The law on abstinence applies to everyone who are 14 years and above, while the law of fasting applies to everyone who has reached majority age, meaning to say 18 years and above. Those who are sick and those who are taking care of them, in principle, are exempted from the law of fast and abstinence. And from the law of fast, all those who have reached 60 years or more are also exempted. Now, this doesn't mean to say that just because one is 60 and is very healthy and he will habitually just abstain, right? Or rather habitually just not abstain and not fast. Even if he's exempted, again, in the spirit of the Lenten exercise, in the spirit of penance, of true penance, especially during Holy Week, especially during Lent, it might be a good idea to not exempt oneself needlessly, unless, of course, it's really necessary because one is thin, or one cannot really fast because one suffers from diabetes or hypoglycemia and things like those. The important thing, though, to remember in all of these laws is not to look at them as simple, shall we say, prohibitions or impositions or limitations of our freedom. No? Pampahirap. Aside from the fact that they really should be pampahirap because that's what sacrifice means. Meron ba namang sakripisyong masarap? Meron ba namang penitensyang enjoyable? So that's contradictory, no? But rather than just considering them as something negative, always to consider them as opportunities for strengthening oneself, opportunities for opening oneself more to grace and to the action of God in our soul. In short, of benefiting from all the graces that God wants to give us, especially on the occasion of Holy Week. This is the attitude that we should have to fast and abstinence. This is the attitude that we should have to mortification. This is the attitude that we should have to the whole Lenten exercise, especially Holy Week.